So we are recording, and today I wanted to go over some simple tips and tricks for maintaining Linux, keeping it up to date and secure, and some general programs you might find useful if you're doing productivity work. So let's start up with keeping it secure. Really not much you have to do in that field, but what I recommend, and this is not necessary, is you want to install something called UKUU. UKUU. UKUU stands for Ubuntu Kernel Update Utility. And this is one of the reasons why I like Ubuntu-based systems the most. Because you can just install this and click a few buttons, your kernel's installed. Not that I don't know how to do it in the terminal. Sure I could if I followed the instructions. I've been using this operating system since about Windows Vista, and there's still a handful of things I don't know how to do, but I'm very lazy, and I don't like using the terminal unless I have to, and GUIs are very good. So as you can see, I'm running 5.3.7 here. The latest one is 5.3.12, so we can just go ahead and install that. Enter our password. Hit enter. And now it's installing the kernel. The latest version of this is paid for, meaning you have to pay for it. You don't really have an option. Why is this not doing this? Double free or corrupted fast hop. I don't know. So that doesn't seem to be working for some reason. I wonder why. Is it because I'm using the video recorder? Because that would be fucking stupid. I've never actually installed this while recording a video before. That might be the reason, and I think that is. We can give it a second shot, but I don't know if it's going to install because I'm running the recorder. Simple screen recorder is what I'm using right now. I switched my webcam thing from Cheese to GUVC View. You can see the name right there. Someone suggested that on my Linux channel, and in the comment. And I gotta say, it's perfect. It's exactly what I'm looking for. It shows my face, as you can see. There's nothing on the bottom here. Just this. There's a second screen that comes up where you can edit it, you can control it, minimize it to get it out of your way. But yeah, this is a much better webcam program. I like it very much. Okay, so now this is installing properly. I don't know what the problem was before. I have too many phones. And later on this video, I'm gonna talk about Ubuntu Touch some. Because I did install it on my OnePlus One. So as you can see, that's installing. So, as you can see here, I have a OnePlus One. And let me see if I can dial back the brightness a bit. there's 1+1 with Ubuntu Touch. And if we swipe, now I got to put in my passcode. And there's Instagram. I'm going to angle it because it seems to work better. Instagram and everything I can do, like that I was doing on apps on Android. I can just do all that through the web browser. So all my social media and shit. This is installing. So let's it's got the cover flow thing. So if I hit Control Alt Tab here, it's kind of got that feel to it, but you have to swipe. The ISO on this is terrible. So the default screen is this one with all your apps. I can't really do it like head on because that. And then you swipe from the side, and it's kind of like the cover flow, and I like that very much. And then for basic apps, you have everything you need: calculator, calendar, music, video player. I downloaded an ebook reader so I can have all my ebooks. I can do QR code shit because I downloaded something called Tagger. I also pirated a couple Nintendo ROMs because there's a Game Boy Pocket emulator, or Game Boy Color emulator, I should say. So Ubuntu Touch, I don't really play many Game Boy games, I was just trying to test it out. Ubuntu Touch is a great operating system. I still don't have this phone active, and I won't till next month. But yeah, it's a great operating system, and I really love it over Windows. So anyways, as you can see, let's comb through this. So as you can see, I just clicked a few buttons, put in my password, and it found and installed all the necessary shit there. Then it installed 5.3.12, which is the latest. And then it just went ahead and installed everything for me. And then it updated the grub menu. Installation is complete, and all I have to do is reboot it to use the new kernel. And we go into system info, which is one of the reasons why I like this menu better. I'll go into the menu in a second. You can see we're still using 5.3.7. Now, you don't have to update your kernel. You can just run it with whatever it's coming with. One of the reasons why I like keeping my kernel up to date is in the event if I buy new hardware, which isn't going to be anytime soon, I'm fucking broke. But in the event I do, I like knowing that the kernel is up to date and it's going to support everything that's in there. I think it's kernel 5 you need for Ryzen, the first gen Ryzen. Might be wrong on that. Pretty sure it is though. But like new shit's being added to the kernel all the time for drivers and shit. So I like to have every other month. What I do is I go in and install the latest kernel there is. So it's been 2 months now, and we've already skipped 4 kernels. So that's pretty common for me. But I'm not doing it every month. It's every other month. You can do it like every couple months. I recommend doing that so you have all the latest features and drivers, so there's no hardware problems if you're the type of person who's updating his hardware. Even if it's a graphics card update or some shit, Linux is actually very good at making sure everything's baked into the kernel and everything just works. It's not like Windows where you have to search for the kernel, you have to search for the driver and hope you can find the official web page for the company that makes it and hope they actually have the driver. Sometimes they don't, especially with older hardware. And then you have to find a website that has the driver and hope that this website isn't downloading malware. And that's one of the problems with Windows compared to Linux. What makes Linux very easy to use is the Intel Wi-Fi card. This is AC, I believe. Yeah, AC, Bluetooth 4 or 5. I just threw it in and it worked. The driver is already baked into the kernel. I didn't have to install anything. I just put it in my computer. And the fact that this is Dell makes that much easier because some person on Twitter was having a problem with his Linux machine because he was using an HP laptop. The touchpad wasn't working correctly and a couple of things. And I just told him, you have to sell that, dude. I've had HP laptops, Lenovo laptops, and a few others. And many of them, especially Toshiba as well. In fact, the Toshiba satellite I had that was given to me that had a single core processor and a single gig of DDR RAM, no number after it, it's really old, it ran XP. I took the CD drive out and I put a DVD drive in it. Same voltage, same port, it's IDE, not SATA. Everything matched perfectly, wouldn't run. Why? Because it's blacklisted in the BIOS. A lot of companies do that shit, and this is why I recommend building your own computer. Or if you have to buy a pre-built, buy Dell. Because Dell is the only fucking company I've seen where they don't put whitelists and blacklists into the fucking BIOS, forcing you to make sure that the part you're buying is compatible, and stripping you your right of choosing whatever the fuck you want to choose to put into your computer. I can understand their reasoning for it, is making sure you don't break something or some shit, but so long as you match the voltage and the port of whatever you're taking out, it's fine. It's a non-issue. And most people aren't going to be doing that unless they know what they're doing anyways. So the fact that you can't do that in anything but Dell is kind of pissing me off, and why I don't buy their shit. And it really pissed me off because I would love to buy an HP. HP makes Ryzen laptops right now with DVD drives. I would love to buy one of those and throw a Blu-ray in it. I fucking can't because the BIOS is probably going to blacklist it. I don't know if HP is still pulling that shit, but I wouldn't put it past them. And HP printers too, I think have had issues with Linux. My cousin has one and I haven't had an issue using her printer, but that's just me. So after you've updated your kernel, you're going to want to go into Synaptic. If you don't have Synaptic on your system, so long as you're running Debian or anything based off Debian, so anything based off Ubuntu works as well. Just sudo apt-get install Synaptic. And so we're going to go ahead and put our password in. And we're going to look up Sudo. And I'm actually glad I'm one of the people, I don't know how many people actually do this, but I am glad I am one of the people that do. Because this recently had a bit of a security vulnerability. So let me get this up in front here. So here we are on Sudo's website. Sudo, it is Sudo. Yeah, that's not going to stay. Unless, let's do this. Okay, that works. So, 2019-11-21 sudo 8.30b1, and we have 29.1. So we're going to go ahead and click that. Nope, that's not the one we want. Because that goes to the tar file. We don't want the tar file. Tar files are a pain in my ass, by the way. And to this day I have issues installing anything using a tar file. I'm not an advanced user by any means, but I know enough to keep my system running hot and well. And I'm definitely not a novice. So where am I going here? Stable release. Here we go. So you're gonna download Sudo and binary packages is what you want to do. Then you're gonna go down to where here is. You can download Sudo for Mac OS apparently. SUSE, Solaris, Ubuntu. Okay, so Linux Mint is based off 1804. So the latest one here is the one I have installed. But basically what you do, and I'll just click this, click the deb file, and you just go through this. So you open with GDebi, click OK. It'll bring up the package installer, and then it'll basically which one did I just click? 29.1. I think that's the same one, but we're just gonna go through it anyways. Install my password. Close synaptic. Yeah, if I had to choose tar files over deb files, I recommend you use deb files all the time because it is just so much easier. I got a crick in my neck. Failed to completely install all dependency. So Control-Alt-T, and we have to put what? Sudo apt-get. Install -F. Input my password. Oh, I think I installed the wrong one, that's why. Click out of that. Okay, that's installed. So I'm running a 64-bit processor, dumbass. I am a dumbass. So I want to click this one. Okay. Let's try this again. 386, I believe, is for 32-bit. Okay, input my password. And this just goes to show you that no matter how long you use Linux, there's always going to be things you still fuck up on. And that's okay. There's also going to be things you learn. Like, I didn't know that GU VC View existed until recently, and I've been using Linux for years. So there's going to be things. Okay, so same version is already installed. There's going to be things you learn even after years of using Linux, and there's going to be things you fuck up on even after using for years. So we're going to go back into Synaptic. Sudo. And as you can see, that is the installed version and the latest version. So we are now updated Sudo, and that's basically all you need to do to make sure Linux is functioning and up to date. Is just update Sudo and update the kernel. Aside from that, I don't recommend doing much else, other than make sure your firewall is active. I can actually show you that as well. So this is Cinnamon, so if we go into system settings here, here's your firewall. Just click that, put in your password, configure it. Just use the default settings, it'll work fine. The other thing I wanted to talk about for a trick you can use, especially if you have cheap laptops or older laptops like Dell, or any laptop for that matter. Go to mouse and touchpad, use custom acceleration and click fast. So if I put it here, which this is how it feels when I'm using Windows, even with all the drivers installed. By clicking fast, look at my mouse now. It's going nice and smooth, makes that mouse pad, touchpad, whatever the fuck you want to call it, makes it feel much more premium, even though this laptop is, quite frankly, a hunk of shit. So you got your calendar, got your sound, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, PIA is integrated nicely for VPN. Now let's talk packages. So you don't really need Balena Etcher for installing something to a USB drive. That comes built in to, as you can see here, it comes built into Linux Mint. But I like installing it. It's a very good thing to have. I believe it's an Electron app. So you just install it, click it, and it'll install itself. B1 Archiver is great. I have yet to find anything else that can utilize 7-zip files as well as B1 Archiver can. For RAR files, Archive Manager works fine. That comes with the system, but so you're going to want to install these two things. If you're doing, you're going to install Balena Etcher if you're installing an OS to an SD card at any time. If you're using 7-zip files, B1 Archiver is the best. And whatever the fuck a B1 archive is. For education, I have FreeCAD. So if you're doing CAD work, that's actually pretty decent. I'm still teaching myself to use CAD, but FreeCAD's pretty good. And then you have KTurtle and Scratch, which teach programming, which is another thing I'm teaching myself. I'm going to go ahead and move my camera here. Okay. So, where was I? Education. And then KTouch isn't working right now. I messaged the developers over at Linux Mint. For whatever reason, after 18... I forget which one. The beginning of 19 for Linux Mint, KTouch doesn't work properly. I don't know why that is. For games, I have Solitaire, Mines, and SuperTux. I've already shown SuperTux, but one of the things I liked about Windows, using Windows back during the days of XP and shit, is it came with Solitaire and Mines, so if I want to fuck around while doing work. So basically, if I'm doing work and I can't think for whatever reason, and I just want to fuck around to get my head back to doing work, it's nice to have these. So here you have a solitaire clone, and then you have mine's is basically Minesweeper. So oop, I'm dead. Okay, well, you get it. It's fucking Minesweeper. And for graphics, so Blender is going to be great for 3D modeling and rendering and shit. Darktable for developing images from cameras. Drawing is basically Microsoft Paint. There is a clone of Microsoft Paint for Linux now. And I shit you not, it is a clone of Microsoft Paint. Literally, check this out. It's literally a clone of Microsoft Paint. And I love whoever the fuck developed this thing because this is awesome. Check that out. Da-da-da. Discard. So we have a clone of Microsoft Paint. It's literally just called Drawing. We have GIMP for basically Photoshop. Inkscape for creating scalable vector graphic images, so if you're doing logos or anything like that. Krita if you're trying to do digital painting or drawing. I actually did very well in high school, and I went to a private school, so not to brag, but I going through group homes, so of course I did. And in the high school I graduated from, you majored in something. I don't know if that's common for high school. And I majored in art. But buying pencils and chalk and all the shit you need is time consuming, it's expensive, and it takes a lot of space. So I am trying to switch over to digital art. Right now my biggest hurdle over that is I bought a cheap tablet with just a pen. I think I'm going to have to get something with a screen on it because I'm used to drawing on paper, so I never really took to doing that thing. The most I've done digitally is drawing stupid shit in Microsoft Paint. So that's something. Natron is basically for if you're doing like green screen effects and shit. I think that one's dead though. I think it's looking for a new developer. And then you have page layout and publication, so if you're making ebooks, Scribus, I don't know how to fucking pronounce that. For internet, I have Firefox, which is what I'm using now, and Vivaldi for web browsers. I use Tuchnota for my email because it's an encrypted German email client, so it's not spying on me like fucking Google. Transmission for torrents. No, that's not just for pirating shit. It's also used a lot by downloading Linux ISOs. I thought I removed TextChat. And then I have Discord. WaterFox I installed manually through the tar, and it wasn't too difficult. The problem with WaterFox is it is using an out-of-date version of Firefox. And while I really love WaterFox, I really do, it basically strips out all the telemetry and bullshit of Firefox. Of course, you can just turn that off. But why should it be there in the first place? The problem is, certain websites, especially YouTube, don't let you use older versions of the website to do shit. So it's basically forcing me to use Firefox again. And I do like a lot of the privacy shit Firefox is putting. I'm glad they're putting an effort into that. But I just keep WaterFox installed just in case. Vivaldi is based off Chrome. And it basically de-Googles the shit out of Chrome. And it is a very good web browser. And if you're looking for a Chrome alternative, I've used Brave. I don't really like Brave. I don't know why I don't like Brave, I just don't. But, yeah, it's really weird that the Firefox developers didn't like the way Firefox is going. And so they left and started a Google Chrome-based browser instead of a Firefox-based? That's just weird to me. You basically went and made a competitor to your former project in every sense of the word. Not only is it competing against Firefox, the browser it's based off of is the competition to Firefox. So this is Vivaldi. And, there we go. You can install Chrome-based, what are they called? What the fuck are they called? Extensions. So Chrome extensions you can install on there, no problem. And then for Office, of course, I have my calendar. Then you have Calibri, which is for ebooks. So your entire ebook library. Just gonna go ahead and let this load. I think I installed this for Flatpak. So here I have all my books: Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, H.G. Wells. If you haven't read this book, look it up. It's actually a really weird book. It's also really good. I really recommend that book. It's very violent, but it's also kind of a romance novel. Basically, the premise of the book is, oh fuck the Nazis, World War II era style book. And so they figure, mainly Van Helsing and the people who were fighting the Nazis, in order to fight this monster, we have to unleash a monster. So they got Dracula. And they're like, hey Dracula, kill anyone you want, just make sure they're Nazis. And that's basically the premise of that book. But there's also a romance plot between Dracula and Van Helsing's daughter. So definitely read that book. It's very interesting. And then of course you have your Office. I delete the Office that comes standard here and update it through FlatHub because I like the latest programs and applications here. So for CD burning and shit, I have Brozero, so I can copy and make CDs and DVDs and shit. Audacity for audio files. And that's the one I'm using here. Kdenlive for video editor. Edit audio files, so if you need to edit your music or whatever, Kid 3 Qt is good. Library is basically kind of like a open source FOSS version of YouTube. Then you have OBS Studio. This doesn't come installed, you have to install it. I highly recommend you do. And then Resinbox, the music player comes installed, and this one you have to install, and that's what I'm using here. System Profiler and Benchmark and X Sensors. Two other things you should definitely install. So System Profiler and Benchmark. So X Sensors right here. Exactly what it says. So all the sensors that are in there. And then System Profiler and Benchmark. So here we have a complete summary of my system. So operating system. Here you can see it's a piece of shit. Dell. Again, piece of shit. All the kernel modules that are installed. Here you can see all that. You can check out how many boots. You can check out the processor, the RAM. Your PCIe devices. Your USB devices. Printers, battery, sensors. So here you have another sensors here. And if your input devices, storage. Then you have some benchmarking here. Sorry. It's cold in my room. And so, yeah. And this was the Sin 7 Stark menu. It's basically a Windows 7 clone. I very much like it. I like the layout a lot. I like the layout of Windows. Don't get me wrong, that's the one thing Windows did well. But after XP, it seems like, well, to be honest, it seems like Windows just went to shit. And, I can do everything I need to do using Linux with the programs I just showed you. And, there's really not really anything making me want to go out and get Windows or go out and get Mac. Because I can, if I have to format a hard drive for my console over there, I can just plug it into my computer and format it using Linux. If I need to do video editing or anything like that. You know, I'm not doing the most professional shit, but you can get by doing professional shit even on Linux, I would argue. I mean, I've taken 4K videos on my knockoff GoPro here, thrown them into Kdenlive. Of course, this computer can't handle 4K, so what does it do? It, I forget, it transcodes it, I think that's the word, into 1080p, which it can use, and then it lets me edit and do it that way, and then it renders it. Of course, with this laptop, it takes 6 to 8 hours to render a fucking video, hence this laptop being a pile of shit. But hey, it still works. And, I like the fact that I can customize the mouse. I like the fact that I can customize everything. I can't do that really much with Windows. The most I was able to do on XP is change the fucking color of the thing. And maybe install some themes. Actually, I don't have the hard drive because the hard drive died. But my XP had a black theme, so all the bars and everything were black. And I actually had, and I can't believe this thing wasn't a virus or malware, I literally had a 3D graphic virtual stripper on a stripper pole on my desktop. Basically like a widget. And that was my computer. That was 18. Running Windows XP. And of course now, I don't have any of that shit. It's just clean, nature environment, everything's black and silver. But, so, basically to recap, because I'm going to end the video because I'm ranting here. I recommend if you're using Linux, use the Debian version. They're very stable. Anything based off Debian, just use that. If you're using laptops or anything, I recommend going with Ubuntu or anything based off Ubuntu. I have a hard time recommending Ubuntu because some of the telemetry they put in, and there's a lot of things missing. I recently tried System 76 Pop OS, and it's still missing some things, and it still has a lot of issues that I don't like to deal with. The one system I've found that's based off Ubuntu that has zero fucking issues, that just works out of the box, is Linux Mint Cinnamon Edition. Cinnamon is based off GNOME 3, it's very lightweight. Even on this old-ass computer that's a pile of shit with 8 gigs of RAM, works perfectly fine. I can do everything I need to do. And the added benefit of using an Ubuntu-based system, which is based off Debian, is you get the stability of Debian, but you also get the hardware support of Ubuntu. And Ubuntu actually has a lot better hardware support than Debian, I've noticed. And so that's why I recommend using anything Ubuntu or Ubuntu-based. Linux Mint is based off Ubuntu, so it's a great system. If you're a new user, if you're an advanced user, or if you're a lazy piece of shit like me who likes GUIs and just keeping it simple and doesn't like to touch the terminal very much, Linux Mint is great. It doesn't crash, doesn't give me blue screens of death like Windows does. It doesn't give me errors and kernel panics and shit like that. It just works. It's a rock solid stable system. And with UKUU and Sudo being updated every other month, I can rest assured that anything I buy that is compatible with Linux will just work. right out the box. And I also don't have to worry about, is there a security flaw in the version of Sudo that my Linux installation came with, because I'm updating it manually to the latest one. And that is a serious vulnerability. I think they fixed that in the other distros. I'm not sure. But it's a serious vulnerability, and I'm glad I update it myself. If you're sick and tired of using Windows, I highly do recommend using Linux. And if you're sick of paying 10 grand a fucking year for Adobe and Windows Office and all this other shit, definitely give Linux a try and see if it fits your workload. Because there are a ton of programs you can use. It's not so much as finding a replacement. It's asking yourself, what do I need to do? And finding a program that can do what you need to do. And that's where I think the problem arises. Is a lot of people ask, well, what's the alternative for this or that? Forget about alternatives. Just ask yourself, what the fuck do I need to do right now? And then look for a program that can do the task that you are looking to do. And you will have a much easier time. And of course, it's not a bad idea to install many things that can do various versions of that. So if you're doing drawing or anything with like a Wacom tablet, Krita. Krita works fine. If you're doing vector work or logos, Inkscape. If you're doing Photoshop, GIMP. All three of those can handle different versions of drawing and shit. But they all handle things differently, and it's not a bad idea to have multiple versions of something that do similar shit. I have 2 web browsers because one thing I've noticed when applying for jobs is a lot of job applications won't work on Firefox-based browsers for some reason. Don't know why. They just don't. So I have to have a Chrome-based browser. Some websites do the same shit because web developers these days apparently fucking suck. And I don't know why. I don't know much about coding. I'm trying to teach myself. I'm not thinking about doing web development though. But yeah. So I'm ranting now, and this video has been going on a long time. So I'm going to end the video here. And give Linux a shot. And let me know what you think about Linux. And if you found any of these tips helpful. Or if you found a new piece of software that you like. Till next time, I'm Zachariah, and this has been Random Reviews and Shit, and consider subscribing to the channel. However long it might exist, because let's face it, with COPPA and all this shit, because YouTube fucking sucks as a company. I'm probably going to back up everything to library, just to be on the safe side. But, yeah, I'll start making Linux videos more frequently. And so consider subscribing. And if you have a recommendation for something I should use, I welcome it. Any tips you can give me that I might not know, I welcome that as well. And anyways, I'm ranting. I'm going to end this video. Have a great night. I'm going to go watch TV.